Pimbo, you alright?
Let's go.
So I decided to make this video to let people know what happened, and if in case you didn't know, at the end of May I had a pretty serious off on my mountain bike at Pimbo bike park in Skelmersdale. I had a pretty serious injury from this off, and we weren't aware at the time, but we'd started recording at the top of the trail, and throughout all my crash and the aftermath of what happened up until we were getting ready to go to the hospital, Ian captured on his GoPro. And it was only at this point that he turned off his GoPro, so we have got most of it on camera ready to show you. We decided to go to Pimbo Bike Park for the day, and it was the first time I'd ever been to any kind of park like that. I've been trail riding and stuff like that, and I've gone down like some trails up in our local area, like proper like wilderness type trails. And natural sort of biking trails and stuff, but I've never been to anything man-made like Pimbo Bike Park before, with all like the jumps and the berms and stuff like that. The day that we went to Pimbo Bike Park I was feeling really nervous because I'd never been to a park like that before. I didn't know what to expect. Like when you watch things on video, GoPro footage never does anything justice. Like it's always much bigger or scarier or steeper than it looks on a GoPro camera. I didn't know what was coming, but I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna see, and I'm gonna try and enjoy myself and see what happens.
Right guys, welcome back to another escape. I am currently on my way to Pimbo, but I am not on my own. I am with my main man George. And we brought Laura along for the ride too. So we've got the car loaded up and we are en route. So we'll see you there very shortly. Right guys, so we have arrived at Pimbo and we're just about to get all the bikes out of the car and shred a little bit.
When I got there I was already nervous because I'd never been before. I already suffer really badly from anxiety. I'm going to a new strange place that I've never been to before, so I was very tense. And I could feel that when I was riding my bike. I was almost death gripping, if you like, and I wasn't even doing anything like bad. I was just going down a tiny little berm track. Yeah, I think just a mixture of being tense and being nervous and kind of just jumping in without any real knowledge of how to handle a berm was probably one of the main things. And it was a very tight sort of bike park, so it was lots of trees very close to the trails, and I already do have issues when I'm riding my bike of getting too close to trees and things, and like the space between the trees and my handlebars, it like really makes me nervous. Anyway, so that was something that I didn't expect when I got there, so that was adding to the nerves and the tension of how close the trees were to me. So I was at the top of the run for the third time, at the top of the drop-in, and the drop-in still made me nervous, but I'd already done it twice before and it wasn't as bad as I thought. So I was okay going into the run, coming off the drop-off, and decided I wanted to go a bit quicker this time, using less brakes, because I'd done the run twice before and I was building up my confidence. I'd taken the first 2 or 3 berms quicker than the first time, but in like retrospect, slower than I imagine many people take them berms. And as I was coming up to the last berm, there were 2 trees really close together, and I've been really nervous of hitting my handlebars on either one of these trees coming through, not knowing if the gap was big enough. And as I've made the adjustment to make sure my handlebars get through the gap in the trees, I've hit the berm too high as I've come into it, and then I've gone straight over the top.
okay, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay, you're a bit winded. You're okay. 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 Do you want me to take your helmet off?
Yeah.
You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
At first, it all happened so quick that I didn't really know what had happened at first. Like, I knew the second I came over the top of the berm that I was crashing. Did not expect to hit the tree the way that I hit the tree. I thought, I'm just going to go over this berm, I'm going to flip over my bike, land on my back on the floor, and then I'm going to brush myself off and carry on with my day. I think the idea of the tree being there was what made, like, me thinking about the tree being there is what made me kind of hit the tree, because that was the main thing I was worried about as I came over the berm. So I hit the tree straight on the top of my head with my full face helmet, and I just compressed myself into the tree, but rather than my entire body, just my head at first. And then obviously my head has slid off the side of the tree with the helmet. I've hit it with my body, continued to flip over my bike and hit the floor. Yeah, it all happened so quick I didn't know what had happened, and then all of a sudden my entire body just tensed up. I couldn't breathe. I had muscle spasms all over my body, like my torso, so all over my back, in my chest. And they were so bad in my chest, I thought I couldn't breathe. So I was like, oh, I've just winded myself because I've taken a body shot to the tree. I couldn't even explain the pain, to be honest. Like, it was just my entire torso, arms, neck, back, chest, stomach, like all of me just hurt, like really bad.
Oh, is there blood in that? You're alright. Do you reckon you can stand up, babe? No. Do you reckon you can straighten your legs out?
Yeah.
I can't get her up yet. Are you okay? Do you reckon you can stand? Just get you over to this bench. I really hope that's not blood, but I want to check your mouth when I can.
But because I was in shock, I didn't initially feel that pain. The initial thing I felt was the fact that I couldn't breathe. So I was like, I'm winded. And then as the shock started to wear off, I started to feel how much pain I was in. So when I came off my bike, like the guys at Pimbo were straight over, because I was right in the centre. Like the berm that I came off was the end of the track, straight into the centre of the park. And the guys from Pimbo came running straight over to see if I was okay as soon as they saw that I was injured. But obviously as soon as it happened, we thought I was winded, so nobody thought anything really bad. I decided to go and have a sit down in the middle, but as soon as I realised how kind of much pain I was in, and that it wasn't wearing off, I was advised I should probably go to hospital. The way that they dealt with it at Pimbo, they were really helpful, they were really like sympathetic. So yeah, like the guys did great. I got a bottle of water when I thought I was winded, and then I'd given the best advice to go to hospital.
I can't breathe.
I mean, you can breathe because you're talking to me. Just try and relax yourself and not tense yourself up. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Did you get on camera? Yeah, actually.
Quite honest with you, if it was up to me, I wouldn't want to been a bother to anyone, and I probably wouldn't have gone. I'd have probably just gone, no, I'll be fine, I've just pulled a muscle, I'm going home. But I was advised, and I thought maybe actually I should probably go to hospital. We didn't call an ambulance because I genuinely, in my mind, didn't believe that I had done that bad of an injury. Our friend George, who was there with us that day, drove me and Ian to the hospital. I realised I couldn't actually get out of the car, so Ian ran into the hospital, tried getting someone to come out with a chair or something. So yeah, so once they'd got me out of the car and onto the bed, at this point they were wheeling me into the hospital, and Ian asked, can he come in? like what's happening, what's going to happen now. But obviously because of COVID at this point they still weren't having visitors in the hospital at all, so he was told to leave and just wait for a call and just see what happens.
So guys, needless to say, that was quite a big smash into the tree. Top of her head, she's got real back pain, real neck pain. So we are currently at the hospital. She is in A&E due to COVID. I can't go in and be with her, which is tearing me apart inside, but anyway, it is what it is. I've just got to wait for the doctors to get back to me and see if she's alright, see if she can ride again, see if she's going to be off her bike for a while. Guess we'll see. Peace out, guys.
When I got in the hospital, they took me straight through to triage. I was lay on the bed there for a couple of minutes waiting for a doctor to come through and see me. I explained where all my pain was and everything, so they rolled me so they could examine my back, and they started to press on my spine, like all the way down from the top. Where my injuries were, they missed my initial injury because that was right at the top of my spine. They only started at like my shoulders. And so they started to press like all down my spine, and then when they got to where my injury was, like it was the worst pain I'd ever felt in my life, and I literally screamed the hospital down. It was horrible. And then from that moment on, the doctors knew what I'd done. After staying in resus, I was told I was going to be going to a ward. There was no way I was going home, like because of my injury, but they still hadn't really come to me and said like what was wrong. So I'm getting messages left, right and centre, and now I'm connected to the Wi-Fi from my friends and my family asking like what's going on. But yeah, right before they took me to the ward, a doctor came over and was like, I've got some really bad news for you. And I was like, what do you mean you've got some really bad news? And he was like, oh well, you've broke your spine. Like you've fractured. He didn't say you'd fractured your spine, he said you've broke your back. But it wasn't until the next morning that I was told of the extent of my injury by the consultant that was assigned to me for this injury. And I'd fractured C2, which had a displaced fracture, which had a big chip in it. I fractured C3, and the C-spine is in my neck. So the top, like C1 is the top bone of your spine. So I'd done C2 and C3. And then I'd fractured T6, T7 and T9, which is my thoracic spine, which is like in the middle of my back. And T7 had an extensive fracture as well, which was quite a bad fracture. So 2 in my neck and 3 in my back is what I'd actually broke vertebra-wise, and I'd compressed 8 discs that all had loss of height under the impact of me hitting the tree. One of the things they kept telling me at the hospital, because we drove to the hospital and not got an ambulance or anything like that, one of the things they kept telling me at the hospital was that they don't do spines. So I was told I was going to be referred to Salford, but instead of them taking me to Salford, my consultant remained at Salford and he relayed to the consultant at our hospital. So a lot of the process was delayed. So for 2 days, I was lay flat on my back, staring at the ceiling, with a head collar on at this point. They'd given me a cervical collar, which holds my neck in place and has a chin adjustment on it. Because of this delay, for 2 days, I was lay flat on my back, staring at the ceiling, not allowed to move. If I needed to get changed or anything like that, the nurses were told they had to log roll me, so I wasn't allowed to twist or move or anything. While I was lay down, I had my C-collar, my cervical collar on, which held my head in place and stopped me from being able to move. They'd removed the pads from the side of my head at this point and given me this instead, with an adjustable chin strap. So it really pushed my head into place once they'd got it on to stop me from being able to move at all. It was only the 3rd day that I was finally got the message relayed from the consultant at Salford that I was allowed to lie at 45 degrees or less. So this made life easier when it came for eating and drinking. They were able to raise my bed up a bit so that I could lie down, sit up a small amount, so that I could eat and drink. So the next few days in hospital weren't too bad. I was a lot more comfortable. On, I think, the 5th day, I was told by my doctor that I was going to be fitted for a back brace, and they would come in with the physio and the occupational therapist to bring me my back brace. And once I'd stood up in my back brace for 5 minutes without assistance, I was allowed to be discharged. So basically this was on my back, my spine run down the centre, and this is supporting my thoracic spine. Now I already had the head collar for my C-spine, which is my neck, but this is the only neck back brace that they did that supported the fractures as high up in my spine as they were. But yeah, it's strapped in at the front on my stomach, and then these wrapped over my arms, and then it was all tightened up. And in order to be out of bed, I had to wear this. If I wasn't in this, I had to be in bed at 45 degrees or less. But one of the things no one tells you is when you've been lying down for so long and you've got a neck injury, that vertigo is a serious side effect of any neck injury. After maybe the third or fourth day, I started to discover that when I was being rolled by the nursing staff to get changed or whatever, that turning and rolling was causing really bad vertigo, which sent the room spinning like I've never experienced before in my life. It was like the worst level of drunk room spin. So then the 6th day came, which is my final day in hospital. At this point I was sick to death of the hospital, and I wanted to do anything I possibly could to get out of hospital. So if it meant I had to stand up in this harness for 5 minutes, if I had to walk up and down the stairs, which is one of the things I had to do, but I was doing whatever I could to get out of hospital that day. I managed to stand up for 5 minutes because I had to go for a full body x-ray with the brace on to make sure it was lining everything up okay. They just needed to get my prescription medication from the chemist, and then they could send me on my way.
So guys, outside the hospital, waiting to pick Laura up. She's being discharged.
When I left the hospital, I wasn't really told much when I was discharged as to what I can and can't do. So I was just going off the lying at 45 degrees or less when I've not got my harness on, and keeping my collar on 24/7, not being allowed to take my collar off. But it was a struggle in the first few days when I left the hospital because I couldn't lie flat on my back because that was very painful at this point, so I couldn't sleep in my bed. It did cause me a lot of pain when and I couldn't sleep. I was up all night in pain because I was lying dead flat on my back. We ended up with a sun lounger out of my parents' back garden, and one of the ones where you lift the arms up and you can push it back and forth, and you can lie flat on it, or you can lie up a bit, or you can sit upright on it. So basically I lived on a sun lounger in my living room for the next 6 to 7 weeks, and the only time I ever got out of it was to go to the loo. But every time I had to go to the toilet, I had to put my harness on. So, well, no, I didn't have to put my harness on. Ian had to put my harness on for me. So, and I'm terrible, I go to the toilet like 20 times a day. It was up and down every 5 minutes, taking my harness off, then putting it back on again, and then taking my harness off and then putting it back on again. Because staying in it for too long wasn't very comfortable. I could probably stay in it for a few hours if I was going out and about and walking around, but staying in it and sitting somewhere wasn't the most pleasant and comfortable experience. So if I was sitting down, getting comfortable, I wasn't in my harness. I did feel very sorry for him. He had to do a lot for me, but I couldn't have done it. I appreciate him so much for doing all that for me. I couldn't have done it on my own. Some of the effects that my injury had that were very unexpected, which is there were a few, if I'm honest. One of the main ones was the vertigo, which I mentioned earlier. I mean, I still get vertigo to this day, and we are, 13 weeks since my injury now, recording this, and it's still something that's affecting me. Not as bad as it did at the beginning, but it still affects me. Another unexpected side effect of a neck compression and back compression injury is loss of height. I was maybe average height for a girl, 5'7" maybe, 5'8". I was a reasonable height for a girl, and I'm now at least 2 or 3 inches shorter. And the final effect that I didn't realise was going to be a thing is the extent of muscle damage, not just in my back. Since having my harness off is also something I didn't expect. I thought maybe I'd have a bit of an achy neck, or my neck might be quite weak, and the same with maybe my back and my shoulders and my upper back. But all of my stomach muscles, my chest muscles, they've all just degraded so bad since my injury, and not being able to use them at all for them 7 weeks that I was in my back brace was unexpected to me. But as part of my recovery, when I do physio, which I am now booked in for private physio, that hopefully will be fixed. So my recovery is going well, better than I hoped. As soon as I got my harness, was told I was allowed to remove my harness after my x-ray after 6 weeks of being at home. It was off and it was never going back on again. I'm back, bitches! The doctors did say some people rely on it and I could take it on and like wean myself out of it, but I was never putting that thing back on, let's face it. Like, it was never going back on me. And yeah, basically my recovery is going really well. The reason why I'm not having physio yet is because I've gone to a mountain bike specialist physiotherapist who's quite booked up, but in the next week or so is my first appointment with him, so hopefully that goes well. But in the meantime, as advised by the doctor, I'm doing yoga to help strengthen the muscles in my neck and in my back. I'm allowed to start to ride again, but I have to do it slowly and I have to take my time and ease my way back into it over a number of weeks. I have sat on my bike and ridden my bike around the estate. It did feel a bit weird, sort of leaning over your bike and stuff. I can feel it in my back that I've still got an injury, but I don't intend on pushing it too hard because I don't want to do myself more damage. When I've had my first couple of physio sessions, my physio will have more of an idea of how I can start moving into it again and what I can and can't do. We are going to go on a couple of road rides, so it's nice and smooth over the next sort of few days, maybe over the next week before my physio. And then once I've had my first physio, I should then know. The injuries never put me off. It was never going to put me off. I knew what I was getting into. I can't wait to get back on the trails and start riding again. It's going to be mint. I love mountain biking more than anything. I love the outdoors. I love the adventure. I love the way it makes you feel when you're outside. There's nothing worse now after going on these adventures and starting mountain biking than being cooped up at home, especially after spending 6 weeks indoors, like not being able to do anything but put my harness on and off. I can't wait to get back out. Like, I'm so motivated. I love what we do. I love what Escape does. I love the whole thing, just everything about it. So I'm never going to stop doing it, no matter my injury. Just a message to everyone that follows Escape and that watches all our videos. I just want to thank you for all the support and all the well wishes while I was going through my injury. You've all been amazing. Just your support with Escape and the business in general has been awesome. And I can't thank all you guys enough. And I can't wait to get back on camera, back out on them trails and release some awesome content for you guys. So yeah, thank you so much. And stay safe. Wear a helmet.